In the heart of a lavish $40 million mansion, a scene unfolded that would forever alter the course of one woman's life. Imagine the echo of a mother's stern voice slicing through the opulent silence, her tone as cold as the marble floors she tread upon. "Can you explain why you are talking to my son?" Victoria Blackwell demanded, her voice reverberating with the mix of authority and disdain. There in the grand hall sat a black cleaning lady, Lana Santos, in her simple blue apron, positioned humbly on the floor next to a young boy, Oliver, whose silence had been unbroken for 2 years. Lana, now 34, had once graced the lecture halls of 3 universities as a linguistics professor. Life, however, had dealt her a harsh hand, stripping her of her former glory, leaving her to clean houses to support her ailing mother. Rising with a quiet dignity, Lana adjusted the cleaning supplies, her gaze steady yet respectful. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Blackwell," she began, only to be cut off by Victoria's sharp interruption. The click of Victoria's Louboutin heels sounded like hammers striking the floor as she approached. "You were just what?" Victoria pressed, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for an answer. Oliver, with his book of Italian illustrations in hand, watched with eyes that shone with an intelligence too often overlooked, a spark that Lana recognized instantly. Lana's voice was calm, almost too calm, as she replied, "I was just cleaning and he came over." A partial truth, for in the quiet moments of her work, she had been murmuring in different languages, noticing how Oliver's eyes lit up, how he responded to the melody of foreign tongues. Just yesterday, he had whispered his first word in months, "Hola." Victoria, skeptical, snatched the book from Oliver's grasp. "A book in Italian? Where did that come from?" Her voice was a mix of curiosity and accusation. "From the library, ma'am," Lana responded softly. "I was reorganizing." Her words hung in the air, a testament to the unexpected bridges language can build even in the most unlikely of places. Could this be the moment, Victoria wondered, her heart pounding as she watched her son Oliver with bated breath. Here was a boy labeled as unreachable, ensnared within the depths of severe autism, a child who did not speak, did not interact, did not learn. His world was silent, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of typical childhood. 3 of the nation's foremost specialists had all but sealed his fate, declaring him a lost cause. Yet as Lana stood before her, a fire ignited within her chest, a fire not of anger, but of profound recognition. She had seen that same distant look in the eyes of countless children, those deemed beyond help by those who couldn't see past their own limitations. "With all due respect, Mrs. Blackwell," Lana began, her voice a soothing calm that only those weathered by life's harshest storms could muster, "sometimes children just need to be heard in the language that resonates with them." Victoria let out a dismissive laugh, her eyes narrowing. "You, a cleaning lady, dare to offer advice about my own son, a child you've known for merely 3 months." "It's not advice," Lana countered softly, lowering herself once more beside Oliver. "It's merely exploring possibilities." And then, in a moment that would echo through the halls of their home, Oliver lifted his gaze from the floor, his eyes meeting Lana's. In a whisper that sliced through the heavy air, he uttered, "Mercy, madam." The silence that ensued was palpable, thick with disbelief. Victoria blinked, her mind struggling to process the words. He spoke French." Lana's eyes gleamed with a quiet triumph. "Children like Oliver aren't broken, Mrs. Blackwell. They just speak a different language than we do." Victoria's gaze shifted from her son, now curiously turning the pages of an Italian book, to Lana, then back to Oliver. For the first time in 2 years, there was a spark of life in her boy's eyes. "How did you know?" she whispered, her usual arrogance giving way to a bewildered vulnerability. Lana's smile was not one of conquest, but of someone who harbored secrets too profound to reveal prematurely. "Let's just say I've been on the other side of this conversation before." In the cold, echoing halls of a mansion where wealth could purchase all but empathy, a woman often overlooked by those who should have valued her presence had just planted a seed of transformation so profound it was beyond anyone's wildest dreams. If you have ever felt belittled by those who should have uplifted you, then you understand that sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply to demonstrate your true potential. The morning after Victoria, in her fortress of self-assured superiority, had made her choice, she summoned Lana into her private sanctuary where walls adorned with contracts and photos from charity galas stood as testaments to her supposed moral high ground. "I need to clarify a few things," Victoria declared, her voice sharp, not bothering to offer Lana a seat. "Yesterday was merely a coincidence. Oliver occasionally makes random noises. It signifies nothing." Lana stood, her posture composed, her hands gently clasped before her. "I understand, ma'am," she replied, her voice steady, her eyes betraying none of the storm brewing within. "I will maintain my distance. No interaction." Victoria's gaze hardened, her disdain palpable. "In fact, perhaps you should confine your duties to the basement and service areas. Sandra will handle the areas where Oliver roams." Oh, if only she knew, Lana mused silently. If only she knew that beneath this humble exterior beats the heart of a scholar with a PhD in applied linguistics from Columbia University, a specialist in cognitive development, in multilingualism, in neurodivergent children, with 17 published articles in esteemed international journals. Yet to Mrs. Blackwell, she was just another cleaner. But Victoria wasn't done. Leaning back, a cruel smile playing on her lips, she continued, "And since we're discussing boundaries, I hope you weren't misled by yesterday's incident. Oliver is severely autistic. 3 of his therapists have already left us in despair." Despite the bleak prognosis from the country's top neurologists, each word like a dagger to the heart, Lana maintained her composure. "He won't improve," they had said. "He'll never speak properly again, never lead a normal life." Yet within her a fierce resolve burned, fueled by the memories of 43 other children she had championed, once deemed hopeless, now flourishing in universities, mastering languages, and thriving in their careers. "I understand your concern, ma'am," Lana had responded calmly. "Concern," Victoria retorted with a dismissive laugh. "It's not concern, it's reality. And I refuse to let my son become an experiment for those unqualified to hold on." That very afternoon, as Lana was sorting through items in the basement, the sound of footsteps on the stairs caught her attention. Dr. Marcus Chun, the family's trusted pediatrician, descended with a pensive look. "Sorry to interrupt," he whispered, ensuring their privacy. "I need to discuss Oliver with you." Lana paused her work, her curiosity piqued. "Is something wrong?" "On the contrary," Dr. Chun replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yesterday, when I heard him speak French, it was the first time in 2 years he's communicated spontaneously." Her pulse quickened as Dr. Chun leaned in closer. "I've been a doctor for 2 decades. I can distinguish between random sounds in a child's response to stimuli." Lana's mind raced. What could this mean? She weighed her next words carefully, knowing they could alter everything. "Dr. Chun, if I told you that I possess a PhD in applied linguistics and spent 5 years focusing on child cognitive development, what would you do with that information?" The silence that followed was heavy with potential. Dr. Chun blinked, processing her revelation. "You're telling me you have a PhD from Korea University?" His tone was a mix of surprise and newfound respect, his eyes searching hers for confirmation. In the quiet corners of her mind, Lana's thoughts swirled with the echoes of her academic past, a time when her days were filled with the exploration of language in the neurodivergent young minds. Her thesis, a testament to her dedication, delved into the intricate world of multilingualism among children with unique cognitive landscapes. She had shared her findings with the world, her name gracing the pages of 17 international scientific journals. Now here she stood, a doctor of linguistics, her hands roughened by the labor of cleaning, a stark contrast to the life she once knew. Her heart ached as she recounted. "Life happens, doctor. I lost my job at the university when my mother fell ill. The bills for her treatment demanded money, and they demanded it fast. It was a year ago, yet the wound felt fresh, the memory of desperation vivid." Dr. Chun, seated on a nearby box, absorbed her story, his mind visibly wrestling with the incongruity of her situation. "And Oliver," he ventured, his voice tinged with hope, "do you think you can help him?" "I don't think I know," Lana asserted, her voice firm with conviction. He's not severely autistic as diagnosed. He has traits of the spectrum, yes, but he mainly suffers from selective mutism exacerbated by acute auditory sensitivity. His mother treats him as if he were broken, so he has completely shut down. How do you know this? Dr. Chon asked, his curiosity piqued. 43 similar cases, doctor. Over the past 5 years, I've worked with children who bore the same diagnosis. Today, 38 of them speak multiple languages with fluency and lead lives as vibrant as any other. Oliver isn't regressing, he's progressing. For the first time in 2 years, he's discovered a communication that resonates with him. A silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of possibility. Dr. Chun, breaking the silence, extended a card from his pocket. My private number. If you're willing to help this boy, I'll find a way to support your work medically, but it must be discreet. As Dr. Chun departed, Lana was left in the dim light of the basement, the card a beacon of hope in her hand. For the first time in months, a plan began to crystallize in her mind. That evening, while Victoria dined with friends at the social club, Lana embarked on a journey she hadn't dared to dream of since her fall from grace. 2 years had passed, a span of time that felt both fleeting and endless. Luana Santos, with a heart full of trepidation, dialed the familiar number of her old university's linguistics department, requesting to speak with Professor Williams. James, it's Luana Santos, she announced, her voice a mixture of hope and hesitation. There was a pause on the line, a silence so profound it seemed to echo through the years. Lana, where have you been? Professor Williams finally responded, his voice tinged with a mix of relief and disbelief. Your research was cited in 3 international journals this month. Harvard has been trying to contact you for 6 months. I'm in a temporary situation. Luana confessed, her voice low. But I need a favor. I need my research files, especially the intervention protocols for selective mutism. An hour later, as she hung up, a spark of something she hadn't felt in ages ignited within her renewed hope. James had promised to discreetly send her everything she needed to craft a personalized program for Oliver. Yet unbeknownst to her, Sandra the housekeeper had been an unintended listener to her conversation from the upstairs, a fact that would soon ripple through the household. Meanwhile, in the quiet sanctuary of his room, Oliver discovered a book hidden beneath his bed, left there with purpose by someone who knew the power of words. It was a book about animals with names in 6 different languages. Cat, chat, gateau, quetzal. He whispered, each word a melody in the silence. For sometimes the most profound revolutions do not start with a shout, but with whispers in the night, with unexpected alliances, in the quiet patience of those who understand that the fiercest storms are often heralded by the most serene calm. The next morning, Sandra, with a gleam of both urgency and a touch of malicious glee, knocked on Victoria's office door. Ms. Blackwell, I must inform you about the cleaning lady. She began, her voice dripping with significance. Victoria, engrossed in financial reports, looked up, her irritation palpable. What is it now? Sandra paused for effect. Last night I heard her on the phone discussing college research, scientific articles. She even mentioned something about being a doctor. Victoria blinked, processing this unexpected revelation. As the conversation with Dr. Lana unfolded, Victoria's mind spun with revelations. Yes, ma'am, the doctor had said, discussing over 40 cases of children like Oliver. But doubts clawed at Victoria's heart. Could this woman who had introduced herself as a mere cleaning lady be spinning tales to draw close to the boy? The fragments of this puzzle were aligning in a most unsettling manner. Bring her in now, Victoria had instructed. 15 minutes later, Lana stepped into the office, finding Victoria poised behind her desk laptop, aglow with a look of stern resolve. Take a seat, Victoria commanded, her voice as cold as the winter wind. Lana complied, her face a mask of the serene composure she had honed over months. You've deceived me, Victoria began, swiveling the laptop towards Lana. The screen revealed a profile from Columbia University showcasing Dr. Luana Santos's academic accolades, her achievements shimmering like stars in the night sky. I never deceived you, Ms. Blackwell. I simply did not volunteer information that wasn't asked for. Lana responded, her voice steady. Not asked for. Victoria's hands slammed down on the table, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. You allowed me to believe you were an uneducated cleaner, while all along you were a doctor of linguistics focusing on children with autism. And why would my credentials matter? Lana's calm inquiry sliced through the tension. You've made it painfully clear from the start that I was invisible, that my role was to sweep floors, not to share thoughts that people like me were of no consequence. Victoria felt an uncomfortable twist in her gut. That's different. You should have disclosed your qualifications. Victoria's voice rose, tinged with a mix of frustration and confusion. To what end? So you could find new inventive ways to belittle me, to remind me that even with a PhD, I'm still just an employee. The door swung open then, and Oliver burst in, his little feet pattering on the floor, followed by Dr. Chun. Lana Luana! Oliver's joyful shout filled the room, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within. Victoria watched breathless as her son, Oliver, who had been mute for 2 years, effortlessly danced through languages like a maestro with his symphony. From Portuguese to French, he uttered, J'apprends la chanson, then seamlessly shifted to Spanish, asking, Puedes enseñarme más palabras? Her heart skipped a beat. How? Dr. Chen, with a calm demeanor, approached his eyes, reflecting a mix of professionalism and awe. Victoria, I must show you something, he said, placing a tablet on the table. The screen flickered to life, revealing videos of Oliver's recent days, each a testament to his extraordinary journey. Lana, his therapist, had been capturing his progress under Chen's watchful eye. In the first video, Oliver counted to 10 in German, his voice clear and confident. The second showed him reciting the alphabet in Mandarin, each character pronounced with precision. By the third, he was singing a children's song in Arabic, his melody sweet and true. 7 languages, Dr. Chen continued, his voice tinged with wonder. In just 3 weeks, Oliver not only speaks, but understands the intricate tapestry of grammar. His cognitive prowess was nothing short of phenomenal. Victoria's gaze flickered from her son to Lana, then back to the videos, her mind reeling. How is this possible? Lana stood her presence, comforting as she knelt beside Oliver. He was never severely autistic, she explained gently. His silence was due to selective mutism born from trauma and emotional isolation. Once he found a safe space, a way to communicate that resonated with him, he blossomed like a flower in the sun. Oliver turned his eyes, locking with his mother's for the first time in 2 years. Mama, he said in English, his voice a balm to her soul. Lana dice que soy inteligente. Then with a playful switch to Italian, La mamma mi ha insegnato che parlando voglio. Tears blurred Victoria's vision as she knelt beside her son, the realization washing over her. Her boy, whom she had sheltered as if he were fragile, now stood before her, his words woven with a sophistication beyond his years. Oliver, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You could always talk. Yes, Mama, he replied, his voice clear. But you always looked sad when I tried, so I stopped. He then switched to French. Mais Lana m'a aidé à comprendre. The silence that enveloped the room was profound, filled with the weight of unspoken years. Victoria's eyes met Lana's, seeking understanding in this sudden miraculous shift in her son's life. Victoria stood there, her gaze locked on Lana, who watched her not with an air of triumph, but with an overwhelming sadness. I didn't know, Victoria whispered, her voice barely a murmur. I really didn't know. I know you didn't, Lana responded, her voice gentle as a feather. But now you do. The question is, what will you do with this newfound knowledge? Dr. Chin, ever the silent observer, placed a comforting hand on Victoria's shoulder. Oliver needs to continue with Lana. His progress is nothing short of remarkable, but stopping now would be nothing short of tragic. Victoria's eyes drifted to her son, who was deeply engrossed in arranging colored blocks, his tiny voice counting in Japanese. Then she looked at Lana, who had silently woven magic into their home. I need to apologize to you. Victoria managed, her voice cracking under the weight of her emotions. And I need to ask you to stay not merely as a housekeeper, but as Oliver's teacher, as the one who restored my son to me. Lana's smile was not one of conquest, but of relief of a heart that had longed to see a child recognized for his true self. I'll stay, she agreed, but with one condition. Oliver is not a prodigy or a headline. He's simply a brilliant boy who deserves love for who he is, not for what he achieves. As Victoria nodded, a light of understanding dawning in her eyes, Oliver approached, his small hands reaching out to take theirs. Mama Lana, he said in Portuguese, his voice clear and hopeful. Are we a real family now? In that tender moment, the lives of three souls were irrevocably altered, demonstrating that true revolutions often occur not in the clamor of courtrooms or the glare of spotlights, but in the quiet moments when a child finds his voice and a mother learns to truly listen. 6 months later, the Blackwell mansion was unrecognizable. What once was a mausoleum of silence and cold formality now resonated with the symphony of laughter, the melody of multiple languages, and above all, the joyful echoes of Oliver's voice. Oliver's melodious voice reverberated through the hallways, each note a joyful proclamation. Mama, I learned a new word in Swedish today, he called out, his little legs carrying him swiftly toward his mother Victoria, who was engrossed in her work on the porch. Carl means love, he declared with a beaming innocence that could melt even the coldest of hearts. Victoria's smile was genuine, a rare sight that illuminated her face like a morning sun breaking through clouds. Lana, that's beautiful, my love, she responded, her voice laced with warmth. And where is Miss Lana? She inquired, her eyes scanning the room. She's recording another video for the channel. Oliver replied, his voice now switching to Spanish with an enthusiasm that was contagious. Hoy tenemos muchos estudiantes nuevos. The YouTube channel, Learning with Oliver, had blossomed into a global phenomenon. Within just 4 months, over 2 million subscribers were tuning into Lana's classes, where she shared innovative language development techniques using Oliver as a shining example. The channel's success had not only brought in donations and educational partnerships amassing over $500,000, but it also ignited a flame of hope and support for neurodivergent children through the foundation Victoria had established. Yet the channel's triumphs were merely the dawn of a new era. Esteemed universities like Harvard, Stanford, and Columbia were in a fierce competition to secure Lana as a tenure professor. 3 publishers were locked in a battle for the rights to her upcoming book, The Language of the Heart: How Multilingualism Transforms Special Children, which had already soared to bestseller status even before its release. Dr. Santos, Victoria said that afternoon, her voice filled with pride as she used the title she now insisted upon. The foundation has received 5 more requests from public schools eager to implement your method. Lana, now adorned in elegant attire that Victoria had lovingly selected, smiled as she organized the teaching materials. 15 schools in 6 months. I never imagined we would have such reach, she mused, her eyes sparkling with the realization of their impact. And Sandra, Victoria asked, her tone shifting slightly as she referred to the former housekeeper, who had been dismissed after attempting to sabotage Lana's work by spreading malicious rumors. I hear she's still looking for a mom. Apparently, high society families aren't keen on hiring someone with a reputation for gossiping about their bosses. On social media, Lana's response came devoid of any bitterness. Karma has its own timetable. Meanwhile, Dr. Chun emerged onto the porch, his hands weighed down by a hefty briefcase. Ladies, he announced with a gleam in his eye, I bear tidings of great joy. Your article has not only been accepted by Nature Neuroscience, but the American Pediatric Association desires your presence at their national conference to share your groundbreaking method. Victoria inhaled deeply, her gaze lingering on her son Oliver, who was now effortlessly conversing in German with the gardener in their garden. Mere months ago, she harbored doubts about Oliver ever leading a conventional life. Now here he was, more eloquent than many his age. Turning to Lana, she whispered, Do you know what truly astonishes me? Her voice was soft, filled with wonder. It isn't just the languages or the academic achievements. It's the light in Oliver's eyes, the pure joy he now exudes. Lana nodded in agreement, her eyes reflecting a deep understanding. Children like Oliver, she murmured, They don't require fixing Victoria. They simply need to be seen to be truly understood. That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, for with a gleam of pride made a heartfelt declaration. Mama Miss Lana, I've written a thank you letter. May I share it? The room filled with a curious anticipation as the two women exchanged glances. Dear Mom and dear Miss Lana, Oliver's voice rang out steady and confident. Before I felt like I was trapped inside an invisible glass box. I could see the world, but I was unheard. Miss Lana didn't shatter any glass. She showed me that no such box ever existed. And Mom, thank you for allowing her to teach me that I've always been perfect, just the way I am. Tears cascaded down Victoria's cheeks, mirroring the emotion in Lana's eyes. 3 months later, Lana stood on the grand stage at the International Special Education Conference. The auditorium packed with 5,000 educators from across the globe. By her side was Oliver, now 8, ready to co-present. My name is Oliver Blackwell. His voice, amplified by the microphone, filled the vast space. A year ago, my life was... Years ago, the prognosis was bleak. Doctors asserted I would never speak conventionally. Yet here I stand before you, a polyglot of 9 tongues, all thanks to the unwavering faith of a woman who saw potential in me from the very beginning. She knew I had a voice. I declared it with the crowd, and she dedicated herself to unlocking it. The auditorium erupted in applause, a symphony of standing ovations. Victoria, positioned in the front row, scanned the sea of faces and witnessed the glistening tears in the eyes of educators, parents, and therapists alike. Here stood the tangible proof that to label a child as limited is perhaps the most confining act one can commit. When Lana approached the microphone, my voice emerged resolute. A mere year ago, I was a shadow in this society, I proclaimed, but today I am visible not because I have transformed, but because someone chose to truly see me. The same transformative journey unfolded with Oliver. He always possessed this gift I shared. I simply fostered an environment where it could flourish. Following the lecture, a journalist inquired, Dr. Santos, at what moment did you realize Oliver was extraordinary? With a gentle smile, I rested my hand on the boy's shoulder. From the very first day when he met my gaze, I replied, every child is extraordinary. Some simply require unique languages to express their magic. Now, 2 years on, the Oliver and Lana Foundation has become a beacon of hope, touching the lives of over 10,000 children nationwide. Victoria, inspired by this story, has emerged as a fervent advocate for inclusive education. And as for Lana, she has demonstrated that the most potent form of retribution against prejudice isn't destruction, but creation. Building something so profound and impactful that those who once underestimated us are left with no choice but to acknowledge our magnificence. Isn't it awe-inspiring how a single person's belief can ignite a cascade of change, transforming lives and challenging the very essence of what we consider normal? Yet it is the impact they leave on others' lives that truly defines them. What legacy will you leave? Thank you for joining us on this journey. Your engagement means the world to us. Please share your thoughts in the comments, give us a like, share this video, or subscribe to our channel. Together, let's continue exploring the profound depths of human experience.